Ooh. Happy Saturday morning. Started the stream a little earlier than what I said I would do on Discord because I didn't stream last night because I was very tired and I fell asleep with my kids. Whoops. I regret nothing. That was much needed. I needed to go and snuggle my boys. Oh. Alright, I am in the technical difficulties portion while I sit here and try and get my times and stuff figured out because I was time traveling. Whoops. Okay, here we go. Doing okay? Well, welcome to Saturday, everybody. We got fancy coffee. Got my Americano with just half a shot of coconut syrup in it. Not like too much. Half a shot is perfect though. Okay, here we go. Hello? Hello? Good morning. Sean, you are getting your puppy today. So excited. I am so excited about puppy. I'm so excited. Hey, yo. We're just gonna like be super chill today and just hang out and do some stuff. Oh, geez. Okay, hang on. As I noticed that I have an outdated overlay. Give me... Hello? Does she even know when she is? No, she doesn't. It says November goals on my... What is this? Just chatting overlay? We can edit live because... let's see here. Okay. Let's get our December goals up here. Keep that. We're gonna keep that. We're doing good. Okay. It goes. Shoot. Golden turtle. I know. Turtle. There's my 6-year-old. Who I think came in here just to fart. Great. I mean, oh boy. Oh boy. It goes. This coffee, and now, listen, we gotta go and get, hang on, checking the mail on our way. Ricky has got his silly pants on. Oh, happy home academy. Yes, I know. You on my Zen cushion, I guess. Hi, Street. Love you too, wifey. Here we go. Oh, wait. Switching. Here we go. Those goals up there. Oh, wrong chat box. We're gonna just disappear that. New robot vacuum. Oh my goodness. Hey, Steph. How's it going? Have we gotten a nap yet from last night? If you don't know, what you don't know is a lot. Like, the whole, like, you know, this, just like everybody on like the East Coast, and I consider East Coast as like anything further past Texas, like that's East Coast for me, just absolutely riddled with storms and tornadoes and stuff. And so the friggin' Nerds Discord was filled with people going like, yeah, we're okay, it was not great. So I'm really sorry. That is, oh, your girl is broke. Listen, oh no. That did not sound, I hope you got a nap though. Are you doing okay? Yikes. Oh, look, here's KK. Hi, KK. Yeah, I saw that. The S-hooked tornado alley. Like, what is happening? That was bonkers. Absolutely insane. Okay. Oh, whoops. Because we reset our clock and stuff backwards. Oh, well. May the coffee bless you and keep you. Small nap. There you go. Yes. Necessary. So necessary on those, like, I have insomniatic nights where I'm like, okay, we're gonna just camp out for a little bit and go to sleep, or at least mom's gonna go to sleep for the next couple of hours. And when my insomniac nights are like that, the boys are pretty good about like, okay, and just like either snuggling or doing something else, and then we're able to get a later start on our day, but they're sweet about like understanding. So that helps. May the coffee bless you and keep you. Make your face to shine upon others instead of glaring death stares at them. Oh, I used to know that whole thing. Grant you, it's something about granting you. May grant you your own peace. Because goddamn it, we all need it. Okay. Hang on, we didn't open this from Judy. What did Judy get us? A plover cardigan? Oh, look, it's a plover. It's even like a cute red, you know, swallow. Okay, we are here for this. Okay, to money spot and then morning coffee. Hello, welcome to attempting to do anything when you have ADHD. Nope, pull out the shovel first. What are you doing? Okay, there we go. He is on the struggle bus. Okay. There we go. Okay. I just need the stupid quetzal ring. Eventually. We will get it eventually. It'll be okay. So, Joe is having a boys' day today, as in he's hanging out with the boys. I can do some of this, cause like, you know, he's like, I need you to be my sugar mama, and I'm like, that's fine, but in that case, I need time to do this at you know, when it's not like 11 o'clock at night. So why don't you just like hang out with your boys for a few hours, and I'll do this. So I don't know what they're gonna do. They're probably gonna get up to Alto with the Treble today. They're gonna go. Papa and Uncle Eric are coming over eventually, and so they're gonna unbury the mechanic tent that was out by the shed out back that had like the snow blower and everything. It collapsed under the heavy snowfall we had a couple days ago because none of us remembered that we should probably go shake those off. There was 3 adults in the house and we were all just like, bye. So they're gonna go unbury that and then try and put it back up again. We'll see if the boys are into that. Oh, I mean, Papa and Uncle Eric are gonna be over, so coffee. Thank you very much. Kidding me? Keeping this whole ass island going. Ooh, you know what? We're gonna go on a morning boat ride. We're gonna grab a cup of coffee to go. Hey, Brewster. I need a coffee to go, please. Thank you. 300 bells. An extra $1 for the paper cup because it's bad for the environment. Well, I mean, the paper's not the worst. But that things get thrown away in the proper receptacles. I'd like to think that the lids are like corn plastic or something, you know? What is everybody's plans for Saturday? I know what Sean's plans are. Put it in my pocket until I get out of the coffee shop, because tools in this game are so silly sometimes. Okay, hang on. I gotta move my mic a little. That's a little better. Okay. Okay, I think Island tour with Kapp'n. IRL brewing right now. Waiting on your kettle. Hey-oh. Like, I don't even feel like I particularly need more coffee today after this one. Am I gonna brew more? Probably. Especially with my dad coming over and Eric coming over. Eric always wants coffee. Oh. Duh. I walked Marky. I don't know why I hadn't done this with Marky yet, but I walked Marky through like putting together. I didn't let him pour like the hot water because he's kind of a little spastic, but you know, I love him, but holy buckets, that kid sometimes. I walked him through brewing his first cup of tea on his own yesterday, and that was hilarious. Like getting the kettle going and stuff, and he was like, "This takes forever." That's part of it. Ooh, probably get on your Switch. Heck yes. Heck yes. Oh. Stop. No, but you get under their bed and try to eat their Legos. Oh. Gus has been banished from the boys' room because he keeps trying to get under the bed and eat their Legos. Because there's some Legos under there I need to sweep up, but silly. Oh. You're not a frog. No, you are a Kappa. Have you been enjoying Jurassic World Alive? I have not played it, and I feel like I should install it for Marky too, because dinosaurs. I've gotten this last one a couple of times now. Made art for a while? Yes. Prismacolor pencils. So bougie. Ooh. Whoa, wait a second. Wait, is this another Starfrag Island? Or is it just night? Oh, it's another star fragment island. Holy cow. Holy cow. What in the heck? What in the heck? What's you gonna draw, Steph? I mean, I never know what I'm gonna draw until I sit down and do it, I guess. But that sounds like a lovely, relaxing day after. Oh, yeah. Okay, good to know that it's good. I haven't like messed with it at all. I know that good night, Irene. Suddenly his username is completely gone from my brain. Oh, I feel bad. Oh, good night. Now the Wizzy was proofers. Yeah, we gotta have something, like something low. I think I already have the Pisces lamp. Do you have the Pisces lamp? Oh, I don't. Hey. I know I just like was like, I'm not gonna cover Wizzy anymore in like my video. But I also kind of want to do like an autopsy video on it. Like breaking, mostly for the walk down memory lane. Because I feel like that would be lots of fun to like reminisce and talk about like what has happened over the last few years. But also just like do an autopsy on like what happened? Where did it go wrong? I have lots of theories, but maybe if I take a look at everything a little deeper, then things will change. Like that could be fun. That could be fun. We could do something like that. Could even do the research on the stream and like put together that could actually be fun. Do like script writing and stuff on stream, and then that could be really good. Uh-oh, Sean. Ooh, Patronus art, landscapes. Is my latency not great right now? I'm gonna have to double check that later. You have so much you could say and haven't. No, those were just on the beach when I got here. The ones that I'm seeing up in the star and wishing, up in the sky and wishing on, those will appear on my island tomorrow, I think. This is a mystery. This is specifically a wishing star island, which is good for players who maybe have a seed where they don't get a lot of starfall or haven't gotten a lot of starfall. They can get the DIYs they need. They can get extra star fragments that they might need. All of that fun stuff. And check this out. I think this is one of the funnest. You wrote an entire, what? That, all of that stuff. This is what the rocks give you on the Star Fragments Island. I did one of these a couple of weeks ago, and I got one of these, and it's so much fun. It's so fun. This is why you do your island tour every day. It's so fun. Because you never know what you're gonna get. I got, I think I got like a summer island I think this is also summer technically, a couple days ago. Even time. No, that's valid. This adds like another, if I completely decimate an island, this adds another like hour and a half easily to my playtime. Barely get anything done. I'm sorry. Okay. It's not good. I'm sorry, Sean. If rocks appear on an island, I tried to whack them just because sometimes I can get like, sometimes I've been getting more gold from these islands. Yup. The dailies. I consider this I consider this part of the dailies just because I want to see what's going on with everything, and there's a lot of really fun new content, and it can be really overwhelming if you're just starting out, but like, oh, that's how I pick roses, and I don't mean to pick roses. It can be really, is that a reflection, or are there's weeds in the water, I think. Please, yes, please stay safe, everybody. I woke up to just like Doppler stuff, like Doppler radar stuff, like flooding the discords, and I'm like, what is happening? Because I fell asleep super early last night, and I'm like, what is happening? And I look through everything from like yesterday and stuff. I'm like, what the hell? Bell Rock is double bells. Okay, I have not been planting gyroids, and I bad about that. So it is the Bell Rock Island. I have not come across Bell Rock Island yet. Want to. I'm very excited. Oh. Consider, you know what? Yeah, I'm taking these. These are all mine now. You have 15 gyroids now? Nice. Respectable. Considering I did not realize it was going to take that long to get to like gyroids and stuff. So, very respectable. And I wish there had been more information, because like people are still buying new copies of this game. Like, I wish it had been more upfront. Like, this is when you're gonna get all this fun content too. But now we know. Now we know. Okay. I think I've mostly got everything other than like fragments. Star fragments. Gonna go out to one of these rocks for a little bit. Yeah, I'm just gonna hang out here for a second. See what's going on. Ugh. Oh. Yes. Okay, hey God. Well, hey God. Oh no, my chair's caught on the rug. Yeah, we found this at Burlington, and it says, here we go. It's friends. How you doing? On the sleeve. And it's a super comfy, like, sweatshirt material. You do. I love it. I love the rainfall. It'll work with any precipitation, including snow, which is pretty cool. So, the gyroids, like, the gyroids and stuff. Oh, it takes John. Oh, they got Santa hats. Yay! Thanks for the video, John. You can customize them. Yup. I haven't been tossed. I don't think I've tossed or sold any gyroid dupes. I'm trying to get as many of the variants as I can. So I want to see what all I can get. And there's finally the ECNH guide app has the food and the gyroids and everything, which I need to have that up to remind me what I have done and what I have not done, as I miss one. Yeah, there's just there's so much good stuff, and I haven't added Cephalopod to our villagers list yet. Hang on, I gotta go. Goodbye, Eric Demoose. Thank you for coming and hanging with us. We now have the Cephalopod. I am still reeling at that villager hunt. 2 tickets. Don't have any actual dupes yet. It'll probably be a bit before you get dupes, just because there are so many of them. It's kind of crazy. Okay, got my money tree. I'm doing our Kapp'n Island now. I need to get a separate, like, Kapp'n Island log on my ACNH, because if you didn't know, your daily checklist on the ACNH app is fully customizable. So you can throw things like the Kapp'n tours and like other things that you're keeping an eye on your island, and you can keep track of what you're doing. And it's super handy, because I'm gonna be like, did I talk to that person? I don't know. I don't remember. Yeah, for a new variety. Yeah. I see a Sean. Oh, I've got the weird, not good chat up right now. Hang on. Let's. Luck was struck? Ooh. Okay. Oh gosh, this is not what everybody wants to see. Okay, hang on. Let's get rid of that while we edit it. Oh my gosh. You'd think she'd know how to do this by now. You'd think. Oops. Oh, wait a second. I used to do this. Winter has struck. Your newspaper will tell you stuff. Yeah, when stars fall, it's pretty great. What was that? That was me attempting to add the chat window to my overlays and completely whiffing. Do I have a Stream Elements one? Ben's Reddit. No, not really. Shoot. This is webcam 1. Okay, hang on. Sorry, we are updating on the fly because we are professionals, don't you know? No delayed messages. Yeah, custom. Okay. Text settings. Our normal is the limelight. Loud as hell. Dryer. Hello. Good morning to you, sir. I'm gonna go with a 8. Oh goodness. I mean, listen. Yeah, that's mobile friendly. We'll do mobile friendly. Okay. Hey. All right, and then we're gonna take that and duplicate it to another overlay. We're gonna do it to number 2. And then we're gonna save again. We are obsessive like that. Okay. Here. Oh, hey. Okay. You got hosed on your turnips? No. Here we go. Ooh. Okay. I think about 75 all week. That's the worst. I can go check. Did you? Oh, it's Saturday. It's not going to be good on my own. It's just not. Probably not going to be over 75. Like, I'm going to be. Okay, hang on. We're going to get through this. We're going to get through this burst really quick, and then I think we're going to be done here. That's going to be a lot of star frags, and I'm going to turn Cephalobot's little area, that used to be Eric's little area, into, we're going to turn it into NASA. Like, I just want to give him NASA, because he's got freaking, his house is Master Chief. Like, it looks like the place that, it looks like Master Chief's house. So, you have to sell this afternoon no matter what. Yeah. Or you can cook with them. You could also do that if you've got the turnip recipes from I think you have to get that from Daisy May, and I need to buy turnips again tomorrow. They do rot, but if you have a recipe that uses turnips, then you can use them that way and that won't rot. But it's not, I don't know. If you feel like you don't want to waste them, but you also don't want to sell them for a crap price, you know. Oh. The Storms canceled dinner. Oh. I cannot with this man. What in the heck? Oh. Kapp'n. All right, let's see. Let's see what we got going. All right, Kapp'n. Oh, I just freaking. Hey, Dobie. Checking in on you, mister. How's it going? I'm almost out of coffee. He's crafty. Back's acting up. What's up, Dobie? I think I already have the gong. I do. Wait, trading floor? Hang on. Hang on. Steph. What is this witchcraft? I have to know. I changed Dobie's catchphrase to Eureka. Okay. Hang on. We're doing it live. I need to throw a, like, I know, yeah, I know where who is doing it for that? How do I get in on this? Ooh, please drop the link. If it denies you, I will override immediately. Thank you. Ooh, do we want that? And then a black. Okay, there we go. There we go. There we go. Hang on, hang on, hang on. Edit. We're gonna edit this one. We're just doing it live. Like, we're not even worried about it. Doing it live. That'll hopefully be a little better on the eyes. I don't know. We shall see. Okay. I need to put pathing down through there because it's a little hard to navigate. I might have to move some of the trees. I really like the way it looks though, is the problem. Oh, sorry, Cherry. Main chat here or on Discord? Either one is great. Either one is fan-freaking-tastic. Let's just... There we go. Judy with her purple Argyle. Oh, no, this is where I'm going. Okay. Oh, it got deleted here? Shoot, why can't I see? Silly things. Okay, well, I'll have to go and check that. All right, what do we got? What do we got for Toy Day? God, no. Oh yeah, the white is much easier on the eyes. Might have to like make it not as bright and sharp of a white. Puppy. Okay, we got wheat fields over there. Taggart there. Okay, let's check. Turnip prices. RC chopper. Ooh, yeah, no, mine is not good today. I'm good. Okay. So if you need good prices, that's where to be. Okay. I will have to be stocking things on that because bye. You. Okay, kind of don't need anything else here. Let's see what's in here. That looks like the Mac loading beach ball of doom. Oh, we've got gray wrapping paper. Me buying like the gray and the black wrapping paper. Who could have guessed? Oh, see? You see? I'm just gonna stock up on gray wrapping paper because they like... Okay, we're gonna have to be brave, Sean, and probably like run around on other people's islands and go in and like I know that you drop a tip like as a thank you for somebody opening up their island for high prices. Let's see, this is technically the morning price. It's just 78 bells. So that was not great. Got going. Let's just go check on our adorable hedgehogs. Turnips no fee channel. Okay. We're getting a masterclass here into ECNH Discord. Because I don't know what I'm doing in case anybody had any idea at all. I have no idea what I'm doing. Oh. Note as hell. Dryer. Do not drop chips on no-fee islands as you might piss them off. Interesting. I need the red holiday sweater. Definitely. Oh, and we have a Steve Jobs turtleneck. But I think the red sweater is much better. We could also go buffalo plaid. As in, we love rocking a buffalo plaid around here. Turnip mobsters. It is kind of turnip mobsters. Ooh, oh, that's the new dress. Wow. Oh, that is a whole thing. It's definitely not for thank you. I'm good. It is a hot mess dress. No, we're not gonna wear it today, just because. Okay, we did that. I'm just talking to man, chill pill. Haven't gone to Harv's yet. Got that. Oh, I didn't check what the KK song was. Nook stop. Check that. I could check it from my phone too, but now we're here, so. Whoops. Okay. Okay. Oh no. Oh no, we can't do that yet. No, we cannot. Thank you. Oh, I already have that. Okay. Well, that was a bust. And I guess I'll check the recycling bin since it's on the to-do list. Iron parquet. Eric left his frozen partition. Oh, a sloppy sink. That's hilarious. Okay, so we have the frozen partition now. Eric, you left some of your furniture, sir. Like, okay. Oh, jeez, I forgot that my pockets are full. Let's put away. Let's put it away. Holy buckets. Okay, we have so many star fragments. Hey, we got. Oh, that's not the. I can count. Okay, we're gonna put this away. This. That away. We'll. Cool. All right. To fossils. Ooh, shoulder. Ah ha ha ha. Pop crunch. Go on a fossil hunt. Here we go. Morning. Looks like our fruit is ready too, possibly. Cephalobot! See, look at this boy. Hang it. Look, he's just sitting in the flatters. And the little green mumps. Look at him. Little robot man. Hanging out. Hi, sir. Hey, how's it going? Donk donk. I cannot. What's up? Love to hear it, my dude. Love to hear it. That is a robot eating a lollipop. I just need... Maybe he's not a robot. Maybe he's a cyborg. Maybe he still has, like, some biological needs, and so he's eating a lollipop under a tree. I don't know his life. Okay, checking off. We talked to Cephalobot and Cherry and Dobie. Tail dryer again. I might actually need to lower the noise gate on this mic. I might be cutting out too much. I noticed from the video I used this mic to record the video a couple days ago, and I was like, ooh, that's a pretty high noise gate there. Barely hear anything, so. We are gonna need, yeah, I think, Sean, we're gonna need Mama Steph and people to help us use the AC, because I'm gonna be like, I don't know, man, and that's gonna be nerve-wracking. But you know, finding people who have high turnips is the way to make a lot of money. You can buy on Sunday and then have your island on Sunday and go, so you can like wait to see if somebody has a good turnip price. Roll your time back, buy turnips, fly in, and still make a profit. It's a thing. You can do that. So. That would be very helpful, because my anxiety will peak even though people are doing nice things for me and they have opened it up at no expense to themselves. This is when my lack of self-worth rears its ugly head and is like, you are inconveniencing them. Oh, also a possibility. I do need to stop that. I am fully aware that I need to knock that the hickety heck off. Am I gonna? I've recognized that it's stupid and it's just my anxiety and stuff doing the thing, but you know. You gotta bail in 10. That's okay. We're very excited. Oh, why have I got a little green thing next to my chat settings? What is happening? Quests queue. Wait, moderation settings. What? Suspicious user controls. Ooh. Potential ban evaders can be detected and flagged. I need to check this out later. No, I don't know what chat went. This is good. That's heckin' cool. Nope, not what I meant to do. Whoa! Shouty computer is like, stop! There it goes. There we go. I got it back. Okay, I'm gonna have to go and play with new chat settings in a little bit. I'm sorry, you were making it easier for me to bring the banhammer. Oh no. Unlimited power! No, I'm sorry. Ooh! I like this. I like this plan. I like this plan muchly. I don't have turnips, but it sounds like Sean does. So I should wait for other crops to do. Banhammer ease? Yes, please. Right, though? Speaking of banhammer, are you... Hang on. Not marking you as a suspicious user. That's not what we are intending. Silly twitch. There we go. Speaking of banhammer, Steph, you now have the freedom and opportunity to wield the banhammer as you please. Ta-da. Yay! Poor Sean. I hate those weeks where you're like, well, that was a bust. Loud as hell, dryer, making its presence known. You sing you're the song of my people. Yes, I don't know why you didn't have Thor privileges as it was. I don't know what kind of crazy criminal oversight that was about. Like, wait a second, why is Steph not a mod? She's here all the time, what the hell? We encourage the liberal use of the banhammer here because toxicity has 0 places. We do not do that around here, thank you. To bring the drama, we're going to bring the banhammer. Goodbye. Don't need. Out it. I love swooping into other WooTubers chats and just like, good morning. Like seeing somebody being shady, bring the band hammer and be like, hello, I have arrived. I've squashed a bug. No trolls in the dungeon. It's so much fun. So much fun. Favorite way to make an entrance in a chat. Just immediately banning somebody. God freaking. You want to be shady and post gross linkages? Not in this chat, my friend. This is... Today is not the day and I am not the one. Wham! Just my favorite. And I love seeing other people come in just being like, here you go. Check out. Sometimes I can't see it until it's way too late and I'm like, oh no. Oh no. Who brought the troll into the dungeon? Well... Oh, you know what? I bet you. Bags loaded and checked. Like, wait, what? Oh. Talking about in the Animal Crossing, not for real. I'm like, I thought you just had to go to Wasilla. What the? Taking a plane to Wasilla, what the hell? Ew, ew, why are people dumb and gross and mean on the internet sometimes? It's like, can you just leave people alone? Oh! There it is. Haha! Found it. Report, ban. The YouTube banning policy, especially for like... Ooh, wait, what? What is a bamboo? I'm sorry. What is a bamboo drum? I'm sorry. What? Hang on. This is... Wait. What? Oh. Oh, that thing. I didn't have that yet? Oh, I guess not. Okay, cool. Oh, it's cuteness. I mean, yes. That's freaking adorable. Also, Pisces lamp. Very cute. With the fishies. I feel like that's going to be like... That's going to have to be in Tia's speakeasy, just because, I don't know. It also kind of gives me, like, blown glass dolphin vibes. I don't know why. It's giving me a vibe. You know? I'm catching vibes. I don't know. Okay, hang on. Marking that we got. Beach DIY. Also have to snag the beach DIY from Happy Home Paradise eventually, but I still have to... Marina! Look at her. So cute. We're not going to worry about these coconuts because these get hard to pick up and they tend to disappear. So they can just hang out and be pretty. Just sit there and be pretty, okay? Okay. Yeah, bamboo. Tracker's so loud. It's hilarious though. Oh, I scared away a dung beetle. Shoot. Okay, that's for snow people. Which I am terrible at building snow, like the snow boys. I don't know. I can build a snowman in real life. Animal Crossing is really hard. Okay. And life is just really hard. Okay, I thought that was a balloon for a second, and I was like, what? Pause. Hold on. Who lives here? Why is there weeds everywhere? What? What is happening? Okay, okay, okay. Okay, why am I not... Oh my gosh. I rewound time and I found all of my fossils already the other day. That's why I'm not finding any fossils. Okay. Good night, Irene. That took me way too long to figure out. I'm like, I'm not seeing diddly squat. Why? That's why. I already got to them. Tianxing, hi buddy. What's up, bud? What I got here yesterday, but I think I only bought it because it was heavy. Weird flex, but okay. Cheers! Darling buds. Okay, and that's the gong that I have to put in my little area. Infernal dodo. It do be like that sometimes. It's like, can you just get to the point? You know why I'm here. Act like you don't know why I'm here. Okay, let's go put away. What are we doing? Hold your cup because it's adorable. Okay. Gonna go put my gong down so because I don't need that. And then I guess we'll go Happy Home Designer to see what they have at the shop there. And I don't really know what else to do today. I don't really know, man. So now we have people who are like pack muling stuff for us to islands. I don't need. It's feeling more and more like a Napa racing. I don't know, man. Oh, geez. There's the bio break in the... Okay, let's get to these silly loading screens. So anyway, we're doing a long stream, which means, of course, we're going to take our bio breaks very seriously today. So it has been an hour. This is your friendly reminder to get up, go pee, go get yourself a drink, go get yourself a snack, get your wiggles out. We're going to come back here in 5 minutes. I'm going to check on a couple of things on Happy Home Paradise. I see adorable villagers in the background. We might get very distracted with some Happy Home Paradise stuff, but you know, we'll get there. We will get there. Come back here in 5 with your refreshments. I will see you in a minute. Okay. Oh, you gotta bail. Bye, Sean. Okay. All right, I hope everybody had a good bio break. I'm glad we're back. I got myself some peach Izzy in the skull mug because it's always a skull mug day. Listen. Never not a skull mug day. Lee, you are in chat and you've been playing AC all day. Yay! Okay. Oh my goodness. Thank you for doing that, Steph. You are just the best. Mama Steph taking care of everybody. Okay. That's, I think, Becky. I don't remember. No, I don't remember his name either. Pardon me. Oh, that was a big tickly nose moment. She came to here. Okay. I need to know this because we're gonna have to make. Oh my goodness. I forget what her name is. She's kind of another kind of gothy ACNH villager. Okay, we've got Nan over here. Vibin. I can't have my coffee out at work. Rude. Rude. Sheldon. Glowing glass jar. Oh my god. Oh my god. I'm getting the cute rage. I'm getting the cute rage. So adorable. Help. Help me. Oh no. Can I help you, Gus Gus? What's up, puppy? Lay down in here. Good boy. Boy. He is most put out that he doesn't get to go and chew on the boys' Legos. He's like, oh, let me in. What the heck? There's so many like weird facets. It's really hard to keep up sometimes, isn't it? But oof. Okay, so we've got the dark wood version of that. Is this a massage chair? I'm sorry, hold up. Is this a massage chair? I will pass. I'm good. Okay, I already have that vase. I have the bubble blowing machine. Not super interested in the pink version of that. I think I already have the dark version of that too. So I think we're good here. Gus Gus, come on. Gus Gus. Yeah, you can come and chill with me. Good boy. All right. Well, I guess since I've got, are my other dailies done? Pretty much all my dailies are done. Except for like going to Harv's and stuff. We can, here's where it gets dangerous in Happy Home Paradise, where you're like, we can just one. Oh wait, do I have, hang on, we have a facility? Wait, what? Oh. Oh, no. Okay, never mind. I was hoping that we had another one. Okay. Let's go. Oh, that's fair. Do they have any other, I don't know if they have good variants of this. What is this called? Upright organizer. Let's see what the variants are of this. It does come in black. Oh, okay. All right. Yup. I keep forgetting about Cyrus. Like, I did like a few of my light poles, and I have like 3 more I need to do that are white instead of black. And I need to redo a few of my light poles still. It really is much cheaper because you can get that. Okay. Picnic in the park. Sweets and treats for Blue Bear. Relaxing home. I mean, I think that's Rhonda. Becky wants home offering cooking lessons with, that's adorable. Seaside photo shoot. Piloting a spaceship, so he wants to be Captain Kirk. Interesting. Let's check in the cafe. Ooh, oh. I might have to read. So we've got Leopold. We've got the knight Knigget chick. He's a Knigget. A knight. Be a knight no matter where I am. Develop. He wants to be a game dev. Yeah, that's not the way to get rich quick, my dude. Set up camp, Leopold. Hi, bud. Yeah, you have your. Oh, sorry, Odyssey. We don't have Odyssey. We have 3D World. It's too hard. I'm sorry. Oh, bud. Well, we don't have that game card. Might have to. You're gonna have to talk to Dad about that. Is this. Hi. Hi. Poke. No. Me? I have to talk to Daddy about it?
Oh no, you. Actually.
I can't talk to this person, apparently.
You need to answer.
I cannot. You're gonna have to talk to Daddy.
Is that.
Okay, say excuse me. Your littles games. I think the Papa Man got them see for Christmas. Okay, just telling the dad. It's not like they have a shortage of games by any means. But, you know. And he might need some help getting through like some of the levels, or like somebody to coach him or something like that to get through some of the higher levels. But he's like super far into 3D World. He's doing really good. Okay. Field Day Superstar, Schoolhouse. It's gonna want to get away from it all and paint. Garfield Rain. They have Minecraft Dungeons. They play a lot of Minecraft Dungeons. No worries there. I need to get through here, Poppy. You're very cute. Garfield Racing, though. Oh my goodness. That's, oh boy. That sounds like a trip and a half. Oh, I forgot I had Cephalobot working in the kitchen here. That's kind of a trip. Wait. Can I get cooking DIYs from here? Mario, but with Garfield too. That's great. I have been playing this game wrong. And yes, I put Petri. I did. What in the heck? You infuriating me right now. Whole life revolutionized all of a sudden. Hang on, that was the cherry tart. There we go. We have cherry tart now. Yeah, I got the glowing moss off of the beach. I knew that. And then you can go and harvest the moss and the vines and stuff. But at the same time, like, I need to make this easier to access my back kitchen then. Like, I need to redesign this because I like this. I like this a lot. This was a lot of fun to build. It's very sort of like tavern vibes, but it's really hard to get to the back door or into the back kitchen. So this is Christmas. Well, 1 second. We're gonna do some. I'll be right back. Poor little dude. He's just so frustrated. I remember that too. Like, that was mom's rule, is like, I'm not buying you anything. Oh my gosh. I'm stuck. Poppy? I swear to, oh my god. Can I, oh no. Okay, hang on. Take a seat, ma'am. Take a seat. Oh wait, actually, you know what I can do with me? Maybe I don't have to redesign. Maybe we're just gonna do this every time we need to move. Dumb, but effective. Okay, bye, Melba. Thank you. I need to be checking this every single day. Okay, we're gonna go design. We're gonna design for somebody. We've got the clipboard in our hand. We're gonna have to just do it. I am leaning towards Becky. Yeah, I don't like chickens. I don't like the chickens. Picnic in the park sounds adorable. Relaxing? So she just wants like a bedroom. I think Blueberry could be fun. Sweets and treats. It's probably going to be a Technicolor nightmare. Let's chat. I've got ideas. Okay. Oh. Oh, so Candy Workshop. Oh. We can work with this. This is... Oh, yes. Okay, hang on. Candy Workshop. Candy Workshop. Ooh, you know what? Yeah. Because I don't know what I'm going to use with that anyway, so that'll be a good spot. And you can move people around later. One is trendy, the other is chic. Let's do a big 2-level, so that way she can have her workshop on 1 level, then she can actually have like living space above that. Yeah, sure. We're just gonna say we're doing, or I'm gonna change the, okay, hang on, we're gonna do Blue Bears, Sweet Treat, Workshop, Build. Oh. Right. So. Let's work with house first. Get her 900 920. Whoops. Is that gonna be okay? Are you gonna do you, but oh, I'm sure he's gonna be, what am I doing? So I'm just like black. I'm defaulting and forgetting who I'm designing for. Excuse you. What is she? Oh, that kind of hurts the eyeballs. That's equally bad. This is a little better. That's not a full load. Okay. I mean, I like the purple and gray personally, but that, ooh, that darker purple though, that's pretty good right there. Just full 9 stack and a partial stack. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's not bad. The logs are also falling. Except that feels more like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. Okay, hang on. Door. Okay. Yeah. Well, now that we know, that's gonna be fun little side missions to go and get. That feels very goth to me, and I love it. Oh, the blue is kind of like the green too. Yeah, going now that like I actually know how to do that now, and I'm like, okay, no, I could probably swing that going to other people's islands. I just have to like psych myself up for it. Work. There's the dog losing his Skittles. That may be the Papa Man. It's probably the Papa Man. The man, the myth, the legend himself. Oh, I have low jack on so I can see whether or not it's actually him. Oh, there is a purple one. Okay. Oh, you see? Yeah. Hang on, my son is now FaceTiming me. Hang on 1 second. He didn't mean to. It was a butt dial. You didn't mean to call me. Silly baby. Silly baby. Oh, you know what? I bet it's you. It's Stella. Okay, I'm gonna close my door because that's gonna be a whole bundle of chaos. So, hang on one sec. The neighbor down the hill has a yellow lab that comes over and plays with Gus on Saturdays. I forgot that was happening. Okay. Fencing, candy. Wait, this comes in like crazy colors, doesn't it? Ooh, okay, hang on. Then we should probably changing the season. Change the season. Make it frickin' snow. Give us like early morning. Ooh, early morning foggy vibes. Okay. We love early morning foggy vibes. Okay, so we're gonna throw down some icy fences, just ice cold. Yes. Only item was a queue had 298. 298 is not bad at all, actually. So you have to, so there is like a queue system. Okay, I wonder. I am also looking for like catalog islands that are gonna be doing that. So I should probably jump in that Discord ASAP. Thank you, Steph. My goodness gracious. Above and beyond as per usual. Which, like, not to say. That sounds really weird. Just saying that, you know, you always go above and beyond everyone's expectations, and the fact that that is your usual is astonishing. Madam. What the heck? Pathing. Ooh. Maybe we just go basic wood tiles. I don't really have... Do I have a custom that looks good here? Probably not. I have like pirate. I have like pirate and black. I have this. That could be pretty. But I have like goth stuff. Hello, yes, my name is Zoe, and I like black. Do something like that. Then, oops. Like I should get some more like fairy core stuff, because I need to spruce up Judy's yard and stuff eventually. But oh, that's kind of cute. Maybe. No, we're gonna do. There we go. Maybe we can. Okay, there we go. There we go. 275K. Dude, you rounded him up to the 5. Oh, Steph. That's really sweet of you. No, that's a really good return. We're gonna do decorated cedar trees. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Sweet workshop vibes. We're going full send Christmas. Do I have? There's the holly. What am I doing? Okay. Oh goodness. forget about this view. Ugh. But I need to see this really quick so I can put bushes in the right spot. Actually, we're gonna move this one towards the... No, actually what we're gonna do, we're gonna throw down another one of these. You're ruthless when you trade for yourself? Yes. Love it. 90 or less, and then only sell for over 500. Damn, girl. No, that's like where you're reaching actual peak profit margin on those. That just makes sense. I love it. Oh, goodness. What are we doing? Probably not very many flowers. I mean, like a few. Oh, sugarcane farm, obviously. Don't think I can put in no water feature. Low island and yeah. Low island buy, high island, buy the dip to the moon. No, that just makes sense. That's like how you're supposed to do that, and that's awesome. I love that. There we go. Little sugarcane patch. Maybe. What do we got for? Oh my goodness gracious! Oh my goodness gracious! So cute. Nook Miles or stack of stars. Then why not? Right though. Right though. Okay. That's really cute, but like I need to get some outside stuff going. I know. Cannot help myself. Cannot. Gonna do that. We're gonna put some cute as hell farm shit out here. I'm excited. This all of a sudden became very, very cute. Where is the farming stuff? Where is it? Yeet. Where's the cute as hell? Nope, I got it. But thank you. What about you, Steph? I hear puppies playing upstairs. Clompity. Where's all like the outside farming stuff? I probably passed right over all of it. On accident. I need like the wheelbarrow. And like I got, oh actually, see, thank you, because storage shed outside for the farmings. Oh, okay, hang on. What are we doing? There, we'll put the storage shed kind of like here-ish. There we go. Thank you, Lee, for the inadvertent idea. I appreciate you. And where's the wheelbarrow? Eat it. Why am I missing this? Like, hang on, we'll do garbage can. I'm like completely disregarding all of the stuff that they already have in their favorites, and I'm like, no. Hold up. Here we go. We'll put little wheelbarrow. The little wheelbarrow out. And glowing moss boulder, excuse you. What is... Hello? Oh my gosh. When am I gonna get this DIY? What in the heck? What in the heck? I just, all of the yes. All of the yes. Full yes. Okay, we're actually gonna move that here-ish and then put the border. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Looking spooky. Okay. Kind of spooky, kind of cool. We'll put this one here. That there is? Okay. I have to actually pay attention to what they actually want, if there's anything outside that I can put outside. You know what? Kind of, sort of not. Like, okay. I always like I like the bamboo outside, especially in the winter where it does that. I'm gonna throw a couple of those out. Pretty things. Okay. Days. Put days. Yeah, that'll just. Okay. Calculating. Considering. Loading options. Let's throw some poppies down because they're pretty. I know they're windflowers in the game, but they look like poppies to me. I like them. Down. Here we go. Water pump. I need a water pump. Do I have a water pump? There we go. Nope, I need a water pump. The necessity. Oh, yes. I feel like I also need a bucket. I will never not say bucket that way. Bucket. Just always. That's just how it's gonna be forever. Bucket. There it is. Okay. Yes. Exterior. I think we have achieved peak exterior. This part's very crowded, so I might actually. You know what? Yeah. No, we're gonna move. There we go. There we go. That feels a little better. That feels a little less crowded. Like, and kind of like weighted to that side. No. Hang on. I know what to do. Put this back just a touch. And we're gonna put it. Ha. Balanced it slightly. It feels less this side heavy. Okay. Perfect. Yes? Okay. I think we have achieved it. Outside. We did outside. Okay. So this floor definitely needs to have like the workshop. That's what this needs to have, I think, anyway. Cute. Mixer. I need that's another thing I need to bring to Cyrus. is the mixers, because I have like the cute pastel ones, but I don't have like, obviously I need the black one. Hello? Okay, so get the size, and then we're gonna give her huge, enormous industrial kitchen. We're just full sending. Give her a nice light entryway. Use that. We're gonna keep those. Days. We're gonna give her. Let's do rain sounds. Be nice. And then what wallpaper and floor? Yes! Oh no. Oh no. Is that too much? That might be too much. We might need to dial that back. Ooh, okay, hang on. Okay, and let's get these rugs out to see what we're working with here. Okay. This is really big. I don't know. Oh, she wants a sweets workshop, so I feel like I just have to go like a little ham on the sweets workshop. Like, give her... No? Oh. Okay, hang on. We'll do... Okay, we can put a little welcome mat down. We can do that, and then we'll save these for like other little areas. We're gonna have to do like Happy Home Paradise like look around tours eventually, very soon. Cause I'm oh no. Okay, so she's got like all of the cute things. The ranch kitchen, okay, and the ranch tea table, which is a doorbell. Oh, wait though, does she want to have like full restaurant then? We can, I mean, because we can do like my dream bakery shenanigans here. Like that is not a problem. We can do that. Let's give her like a little sweets, like a bakery. Like we'll do full bakery. Delta 10x8 jungle explosion, hanging vines everywhere. Ooh. Should try giving chocolate when a friend visits. I also want to know what happens there. Does happen? Okay, hang on. Might need to... Okay, hang on. I'm getting ahead of myself, and I'm getting very excited about things. If I'm gonna do full... If we're gonna do the... Okay, sorry. Brain is moving faster than the mouth. So... I am having troubles verbalizing. So we're gonna do, like, if a bakery and a My Little Pony had a baby and then that baby vomited. That's what we're gonna do. I don't know. We're just gonna go in that direction. Bakery meets My Little Pony and then vomit. If it's a I mean, I wish we could like bring other people over to like the resorts on our island. That would be fun, especially like because it knows who has the DLC and who doesn't, and if you both have the DLC, that would be really cool. It might also incentivize other people to buy the DLC if they could go to other people's islands and see how cool it was. Like, adding multiplayer to Happy Home Paradise would be so cool. It would be so cool. Ooh. Okay, so I think we do the fancy whitewood one. For the yeah. Okay, we'll build. Okay, we're I'm gonna take this one step at a time because I'm getting ahead of myself and I'm getting very excited. I'm gonna build a little waiting room. I forget that you can have accent walls. So hang on, we're gonna build a little like waiting area. Can you guys hear the dogs clumping around? Listening and working on my island, still have to do your chores. Okay. Getting rid of all your flowers except, listen, if you don't like any of the flowers, except for the lilies, I'm all for it. And especially like you've gotten all of the achievements for the flowers, go for it. That's if that like, and like you can always go to like if you change your mind, you can always come to like my island or somebody else's island and get your flowers back. I'm all for that personally. I could just hear happy dog feet upstairs. It's hilarious. Okay, we'll do a chocolate. Yes. Okay, I'm very happy with that. Okay, focus. I'm fine. Just have. Right? Yeah. And there's people who make like a clear ground pattern so that if you have areas where you want flowers to spawn, you can like ring it in that clear, like transparent pattern so that they don't duplicate outside of the area you want. Type show? I'm confused. Oh no. Oh no. Oh, it mistyped shoe. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Whoops. I have the problem where auto corrects something to what I don't want it to be, and just as I hit send on a tweet, and I'm like, I just can you please? Okay. Corner sofa. The orange could be a whole vibe. Oh, that's eye searing. White makes me nervous. Oh yeah, totally. And it's always right after, it's always like right after a tweet and you're like, okay, well, great, cool, thank you. Okay, we're doing a little like waiting area where you can hang out and wait to get into the little bakery cafe thing. Oh my goodness. This is gonna be good. This is gonna be very good. We're gonna put magazine rack. I need a magazine rack. Yeah, I have, here we go. Here goes the brain. Here we go. Oh. Oh. I will have to go and see soon because that just sounds fan-freaking-tastic. Love it. And that says cafe on it. Those are like kid books. I'm liking that one. That one has like the cafe vibes. Ooh. Like, yeah, and then a planty plant. Need a planty. Planty friend. 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 B. It's you. Okay, this is slightly easier to navigate because it has the little icons. Upper right, that's my right, correct? Oh gosh. Ooh, the cacao tree. Cause it's a bakery. Huh? We'll put two, we'll put another one here. Okay. All right. Here we go. And then here's the next thing. Then we put our little private dining room, like for private parties and stuff. Because obviously we're going to have private parties. Over here. Big old cookie rug. Nope. Can I put 2 in here? I can. Can put 2 in here. Okay, okay. Hi.
About to do the 90%. I can't get this.
Okay, he'll be fine.
Okay with
Oh, he's alright. He can come hang out. Okay. Oh, I so hope I can do this on the rig. Like, do it on a Saturday while Joe hangs out with the boys and stuff. They are doing some work outside today, and so Marky might not be down for that. He might come in here and just, like, maybe, like, have some phone time. So, we shall see. Ugh, okay. Oh, I didn't customize the tables at all. Might have to do that. Natural, dark brown. I mean, I like the vintage. That ashy sort of wood looks pretty good. Need let's see here. Who is Rossetti? Oh, that's Rossetti. He is very rude. So back in like the GameCube days and actually the DS days, Rossetti, if you didn't save before you turned off your DS or your GameCube, he would pop up and he would yell at you. Like, you can't do that. He would also do that if you tried to, like, reset your island and stuff like that. Or, sorry, your village. Yeah, he's very rude, and they removed him because there's multiple instances and reports that Rossetti would make kids cry. Like, full-on cry. So they took him out because they were like, maybe he's not the best. Maybe we shouldn't have him. So... yeah. He's very rude, and yeah, a lot of people are pretty glad that he's not in the game anymore because he's kind of a lot. Like, there's people who are a lot like me, and we're just weird and crazy and stuff, but then there's people like Rossetti who are just like rude for no reason and we don't need that kind of toxic energy around, okay? Oh, okay, we're gonna switch back to the floor. Ooh, maybe not with that. Maybe we'll move that up. Sitting in the corner at Brewster's. Oh. Yeah, he's not. I don't know. He's not great. I mean, he's cranky and all of that stuff. There's rumors that he's the guy who helps you with the when you get stuck with the island rescue stuff. Because it's kind of the same energy there when you call to get rescued. But yeah, he's not. The black serving cart, it's so good. We need to do that for our lovely piratey bakery. I'm not doing pirates right now. Being very normal. Oh gosh. I put a partition wall in the middle of a window. Okay. Okay, just leave the door open and I'll listen for the voice. Okay. Stella? Who's Simon? Oh, different doggo. Okay, can you send them down? Because I can't supervise right now. Yeah. Oh. Got to go. Okay, no worries. Thanks for coming and hanging out. Sorry, we got a lot of interruptions today just because it's a bit of a chaotic day. Ooh, the pink. Yikes. And when you lose your children. Oh, okay. Ah. Okay, This is okay. Hang on. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so private party room. Feeling a little better there. There we go. Yes, we can put this here. There we go. Maybe I need a sideboard. That room needs a sideboard. I don't think there's a good. That can work as a sideboard. Whoops. That's all we have room for there. Oof, it's starting to get a little cramped. We're feeling it. It's a little squished. Look at the peach, like all done in like a rose shape. Fruit topped pancakes. Do some pipes. We need some jellies and some cupcakes. Party room is amazing. Actual party. Whoop. Oh, we are on the struggle bus. Here we go. We'll put the pancakes here. Is off. There's nobody's walking through there. Like, whoops. It's always the problem. Maybe we can pivot things and make it a little more walkable, but no guarantees. Yeah. Okay. Happy with all of. Whoops. Nope. Okay, moving things, adjusting. Haha. I'm gonna skip this one. Sorry, I keep skipping. Maybe. What I was doing. Oh yeah, okay. Oh no. Yeah, that took a hot minute. You saw the wheels stuck. Oh, it's already been another hour. So that means bio break time once again. So just as you know, we are doing kind of a longer stream today, which means we are taking our bio breaks very, very seriously. So right now I'm gonna go and use the bathroom and y'all should do the same. So get up, do some stretches, get a snack, get a drink, do what you need to do. We're gonna be back here in 5 minutes. So I'll see you guys back and we will continue the adorable Blue Bear build, which, I mean, I think I'm achieving my goal of My Little Pony Bakery explode. Blank. Okay, see y'all in 5. go. Here we go. Yes. We got like two sinks happening, like right next to each other. Oh well. There. Eh. Eh. And then I feel like it needs and see like we need a dessert case. Yeah. That. Here we go. Okay, dessert case. Yeah. Stop it. I'm trying to figure things out and this man's over here making fun of me. Okay. She doesn't have the request for a register. I am still going to put wait, where is it? Full cash register. Wait, what? Elaborate display case. Heck. Wait. Operating room cart? Excuse you. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, hang on. Hang on. Where's the thingy? Oh, it might be. Hello. So we don't have to use like the typewriter as a friggin' cash register anymore. Yeah? Okay, we'll do a little hall rug action here. Oh no. This needs to be. Wait, why did those go? What the heck? There we go. That looks so much better there. Okay, there we go. Ha! Okay, feeling good. Okay. Oh, still have not customized the stinking table. Garage doing some packing. Just got like 18 picture frames into a large plastic bin wrapped in bubble wrap and everything. Yes! Packing! All right. Well. We're gonna hang out and decorate. Little. I don't know. I'm trying to do a bakery thing. So, yeah, basically, if a My Little Pony bakery exploded, that is the vibes we're going for right now. Is do a couple of small tables. We'll do one big table and a couple like little tables. Or oh, it's starting to get real squishy. you're not getting picked up by my mic, so I'm not gonna get YMCA'd yet. I should not have said that. I should not have said that. Listen, I thought that we threw away his sassy pants, but he keeps digging them out of the trash. I don't know what to do. What the heck, my dude? Was so salty today.
It's cold.
It is cold outside. May the force be with you, sir. Maybe not another one of those. Maybe. Ooh, here we go. We'll like. No. Ooh, okay, that's cute as heck. Excuse you. And then we'll put another cookie rug underneath the big table. And then another one of these. Ooh. On the straw bus, can you tell? Okay, so that means they're just each gonna have to get their own little rug, because I want to, you want to delineate the areas. I don't think I can tape this the way I want. There we go. Okay, shh. We was getting up. Oh, for cereal? Oh, no, I see why. Now I see why. Okay, we'll just. Okay. Food. We need to put some food. We'll put some colorful juice, carton beverages. These are so cute because, you've got your normal milk. You've got your coffee flavored milk. These are like, these are the milks I want to have in our 7-Elevens here in the States, but our 7-Elevens are lame sauce, and so we don't get good, like, Japanese, Korean milks that are amazing. I mean, obviously you have strawberry milk. There's orange juice, apple juice, grape juice, vegetable juice, vegetable potage. In a carton. Okay. I feel like the strawberry milk is giving the vibes we need here. We'll do a peach jelly because I really like the peach jelly. We'll do a matcha. Ooh, wait, chestnut. The chestnut's pretty. Strawberry. I want a matcha Yule log. Listen. Ooh. I didn't get my frosted cookies, so we're gonna do. That's not what I meant. Okay. A little bit spasmataz right now. We're gonna take deep breaths. Cookies there. Okay. Feel good about that. I feel like the log is gonna fall off the table or something. Don't like it. Okay, there we go. There we go. Maybe. Oh, we have 2 peach jellies. That's okay. That'll be alright. Okay. I mean, I haven't done a lot of ceiling stuff yet. Okay, more walls. Let's do ceilings first. Oh, the green. The green kind of works here. Okay. A couple of those because you're just gonna need them. Listen. We'll put the enamel lamps in the waiting room. We'll just do white. I think the pink is gonna be a lot there, but we'll do a couple. We'll line them up nicely. Ooh, I gotta get my spacing right, otherwise oh no! Is there a way to get my spacing? No, there is not. Unless I move this. Hello, Marky. Oh.
He's not nice to me.
Whoa. goodness.
Oh my gosh.
I think Joe's already outside and I don't know what's happening now. Yikes. My dudes. I think we're good now. Let's change the color of these. Maybe? I like the green milk glass anyway. You should go outside, my buddy.
Oh.
Are you calling me again? It's okay, bub. We're gonna do walls next. We're definitely gonna do walls next. Okay. Pot rack. It's not my favorite wall thing because I wish it had more colors. I guess that one's pretty like as good as we're gonna get. Ooh, extinguisher. I appreciate that she's safety minded, but you know. Okay. Gonna make sure. Need some art in the waiting room. Waiting area. Ooh, there we go. Is there more like food things like that? No, that's the only thing like that, huh? Those birds look like fish. Why does birds be fish? I don't know, kind of feeling like a Red Robin lobby, but you know. I don't think he is. I think he's doing what I asked him to do upstairs, which was get his outside stuff together. Because he's gonna go outside. It's hard to be friends with people when they want to chase you around and stuff, huh, buddy? It'll be okay. You gotta... I know. We're gonna put more pancake pictures up. I like pancake pictures. What? More pancake pictures? Like really bad. Like hello. Can I please have more? Is there more food pictures here? Or kinda, oh wait though. I don't really have anything. Yeah, I don't really have anything. I have the mermaid bar. Shoot. Well, sure, we'll do. These walls with the big old panels on them are hard because I feel like I have to like squish things into the middle of them, of those big panels. Hey, my dude. But that, I think. And I can't put things on partitions because they're viewed as objects and not walls, which is silly. It's a dumb thing to be frustrated with, but I'm still like, I want to put things on partitions. Don't tell me what to do. Okay. Hmm. Oh, here we go. Like, oh, there. Wreath. Okay, I gotta do more ceiling stuff. I feel like the counters need yeah, these. Some of these. It needs some of those. It's like, that's where, oh, here we, that's ice cream menu, timetable, service, dinner menu, fast food, drinks, cafe. I guess cafe? I guess cafe. We'll put that here. Oh, these are not on the same. There we go. Okay. I mean, what did I say about I want it to look like My Little Pony Bakery threw up? Oh, she likes it. Okay, cool.
Oh my gosh,
Okay, we'll put that like
hey!
to the wall over there.
Oh my gosh, this does.
Here we go. Maybe we can get a cute. Maybe we can get a cute one of these. They're all. Oh, 40. That means if you see this sign, particularly in Japan, and it's hot, go there. They have either ice cream or they have shave ice. I've memorized that symbol because I'm like, because I have ice cream and I know. Other than the mermaid bar one, I kind of don't have anything. I mean, other than the stars that I have for like. Oh, okay, those could work. We can change it. Vibe. Hey, that could, yeah. Okay. Okay, and then we'll do. What colors of this can I throw up? Blech. I don't know why I'm being like this today. I just I'm just in like a mood. I don't know what mood this is. It's just one of them. Oh yeah, okay. Oh, and this kind of feel like birthday banners or something. There we go. Yeah, that's feeling neat. Oh, that's not even close to where it needs to be. What is happening? Oh, it'll be there. Okay, do that. Sure. We'll throw up another one. Because it kind of takes up like, whoa. Okay. Because it kind of takes up some, it looks like it also kind of takes up wall space. Or like, to the eye, it does. So, throwing it on the wall, like, as close as I can get it to the wall anyway. Dang it. Put the lights in the way. Off center. Ew. think so. Sure. That wall needs something. Bluebear does not like wall items, apparently, so we're just gonna have to fix that for her, I guess. Ooh. Yes. Just yes. And then I think we have to do the dreamy wall rack, because okay, she doesn't have a lot of, like, in her preferences, but apparently she likes a lot of them, so girl, fine. I guess I'll just do whatever then. Unless they just applause, that it's just like applaud at random times. I don't know. Oh, we don't have anything playing music. I need a speaker thing. Music. Here we go. Customize. Guess that's options. Oh yeah, and it can just be here. Oh, of course it's bubblegum KK. Because of course it is. I think we got the vibes right. Okay. Upstairs. Living area time. Give her a place to just be chill, because you can't live in the same place you're working. Like, you have to have some separation, even if it's just a floor. I'd say doing a stream from my bedroom. This does not have to be huge, but we will make it a little bigger than this. Good. Who is she? What? We don't know her here. She doesn't go here. But I hear about her. One day. One day. It is officially kombucha o'clock. Oh, there we go. We are doing, today for kombucha, we are doing the Brew Doctor Island Mango, because that's what Costco has right now. Oh, passion fruit and ginger all day long. Hello. Chris, I'm so excited. At your house. I'm so excited for you. Cannot. Okay. Yay! Okay, this also gives us... I mean, this feels... Hang on, no, we gotta do... Okay. I can't. I physically cannot give her that. No, it's not happening. Okay, what's her bed? Okay, ranchity ranch. Okay. Let's give her a different pattern. It's a little more classy. No, it feels a little hospital, actually. I was like, it's a little classy. No, it's just hospital. Backpedal. Classy? No, just hospital. Creepy 70s murder hotel vibes. Oh, the birds are cute. Hang on. Do birds. We could, yeah, we'll do the retro birds. Yeah, retro birds. Okay. So, little bedroom. Yeah. Give her one of these tables, I guess, for a... We'll give her one of these tables for like a nightstand. Getting ready area. Does she have a lamp she wants? It's just food. Same. Okay. We'll go, let's go pick out a lamp for her. Ring light. I mean, she could start making baking TikToks. Those are a big thing. Oh, wow. The red flowers, though. Whoa. I like the green. I just, like, that's freaking awesome. I love that. Okay. We'll do the little, she likes the ranched table. We'll do that as like kind of a separation in here. Because I don't think I want to put up walls per se. I want her to have like kind of a, because the downstairs is so, I feel like I really squished everything together. Downstairs is so like, so we'll do this. Oh no, except she needs a bathroom upstairs. What am I doing? What am I doing? Not giving this woman a bathroom? She could never. Gosh. Oh. Not giving this poor lady a bathroom. What are we doing? We'll give her, okay, there we go. There we go. No, this, no, we need a bathroom. I hate those things, but they kind of work with what we're working with here. Like, I hate the wood toilet seats. I don't. Ugh. To make a sound eerily similar to that, just. I can't. You're not gonna make me do the pink bathtub. It's just not gonna happen. Like, mm-mm. She needs. Don't. That feels wrongity wrong. You know? This is now eerily similar to my bathroom in Seattle. So. That. It also was nonsensically set up. Could never. What? I don't know what I'm doing. Can you tell? I have no clue how to do any of this. Oh, and I can't put anything on the stinking wall. Oh, and I put that in the middle of a freaking... She needs windows, but... I think I have to reconsider my positioning just based on where windows are. Okay, here, we'll do... Irene, what am I doing? I guess we'll... Okay, we'll move the... This... Because I cannot put a partition wall in the middle of a friggin' window, except it's still going to be wonky because there's a window over here too. So you're going to have a window in your bathroom. No, I can't do that either. Struggle, the struggle. The puffs of steam as I move it around. Like, where are we going? Oh god. Put me down. Okay, maybe. Kind of better. Okay, maybe it's kind of better. I'm trying to give her like a door, friggin' space. It's not going well. It's going rather poorly. How's everything with you? Hi, what's up, my baby? Miss you, dog. Love you. Do the best. Can we leave it off, honey? Thank you. Okay, he's gonna go do something else. We've got multiple adults upstairs who are probably ready to go outside with, if he would like. He might not. That's okay. Skateboard wall rack. I thought there was wall-mounted mirrors. Am I wrong? I might be wrong about. The copper. The copper. Oh. So good. Whoop! Not what I wanted to do. Great. Well done. I'm not settled on it. I'm not happy with it, but we're gonna move on to something else because I gotta like give her an area to sit and watch TV. There's Gus losing his freaking mind. But he helps Grandma know that the phone is ringing, so that's good. Ooh, the Nordic sofa. Sofa is good. This is very IKEA. Okay. Okay. Listen, I like red. I'm not convinced it should be the bezel of my TV screen. Just throwing that out there. Someone could use it and prove me 100% wrong, and I'm down. Go down for that. Hi, Roars. What's up? With a okay. Poor little dude. He must have hurt himself a little bit, but nothing was actually like he might have a little bruise, but it's not broken or anything. So I gave him the rest of my chips and was like, you can go and hang out and watch some TV for a bit and just not for a bit. That's okay. Just we can go and chill and it'll be okay. It'll hurt for a bit. Yeah, my bub. Does he not want to share right now? Okay, well, hang on, bud. He doesn't want to share, and you can't force him to. Right, well, there is the, okay, you have to share, but also you don't have to share all the time. Hey, Murky. Gus, come. It is okay to draw boundaries and say, no, I want my snacks. These are my snacks. Yeah. Oh. Like, you know, often there's like the whole thing like, oh, make sure your kids are good at sharing. Well, also make sure that your kids are good at saying no. Do not have to share with you. Stop forcing me. She is not very. I'm gonna give her like that work. Is that okay as like a no? It's not. Ew, ew, Becky. What are you doing? Okay. We'll give her another little ranch kitchen up here, which I might replace the one downstairs with the industrial one just so it fits. Nah, you know what? No, never mind. I'm not gonna do it. Does this like work with the height of everything? Ooh, 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 ooh. No, why is it slightly taller? That is weird. It also doesn't work with the partition. Here, give this girl a refrigerator. She doesn't have it in her downstairs for her kitchen, but
I ate it all.
okay, hold on. Okay, trying to figure out what's going on with the boys and stuff while I do this. I will do this for just a couple more minutes, and then I might have to pause and go get the boys lunch or do something along those lines. But we might have to pause for an hour for like a lunch break or something. Maybe that might be for the best for everybody. Can do fruit syrup, marshmallows. Oh my. All right, hang on 1 second. Never mind, he's talking to the boys. Hold up. The small one? Oh, jeez. I am very sorry. We are trying to figure out what our day is going to look like. I thought it was going to look like something. Apparently, Joe thought it was going to look like something else. So, we're just struggling through. This is why I play games like Animal Crossing, though, because like I can easily like pause and start them and pause and start them. Kids need me or something, and I don't have a mountain of chores to do. What is that? We use this as procrastination fodder, of course. Okay, kind of feeling a little better about it. I need something under this window though. That's getting a little something. I need like that planter thing under the window. Oh, if we do that, I have to move. Like, I have to rearrange this whole room. Which that feels a little better. Okay. I guess ceiling. I guess ceiling stuff. The variations. Not in the kitchen. That just feels. I don't. Feels like not sanitary. Whoop. She does have ceiling lights she likes, though. In here. In Need the fan in the kitchen. Air circulation. That wall doesn't have anything for no reason. It's like empty wall. It's just not so many things that she wants on her wall, though. Just so. Maybe one of these. And then ooh, maybe this over the window? That partition is still bugging me. I mean, I could make it. I could make it wider and fix that whole problem. I guess that's what I'm doing, because like this divider being here, this partition being here is not working. Survey call. Goodbye. No thank you. I just do a divide. I have no idea if that'll actually fix that problem. Milk Salmon, thank you so much for the follow. How are you doing today? Lovely Saturday. Welcome to the stream. My name is Zoe. I'm a professional idiot on the internet. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me today. Appreciate you. Sorry, I'm deep thinking, and so like the concentration face is on. This is so outside my wheelhouse. I don't do the cutesy builds. I do pirate. Hello, yes, I do pirate stuff. Pirate core. I need green things. I need trees. Tree things that are growing. Okay. Okay, this is. We're getting there with this. I need a partition of some kind, because we could just go full mermaid screen. Ooh. Again, it's like Little Pony Bakery threw up in here. I guess that's the whole vibe they're going for. I don't know. Not sure. Completely unsure. I think is where we're at right now. Struggle Central. That also just kind of doesn't work, does it? Oh, maybe. Hang on. Maybe we can fix it. Just block it all off. Can't get in. Not for you. Oh, is it because of the moss stuff? Okay, we'll move the moss. We will move the moss. Maybe we can. Here we go. Okay. Nope, still not happy with that. Still don't like it. And then you can't really do this. I mean, you can, but it's not. You know? That also doesn't, does it? Kinda does. But I would hate like that in my kitchen. I would hate that. Like, I would be knocking it over all the time, and I'd just be like, I hate everything. Thank you. Why do you ask? Oh wait, what about the ceiling things? The like the drapey bits, like these things. I don't know if this will be better. Probably won't be. There's also, like, this whole area is just... I don't even know. I don't even know what to do with that. Like... I mean, oh... I could... Okay. Just struggle through. Hang on. Turn. Ooh, oh, hey. This could be very good. Oh, except you, like, can't get in that room now. Okay, so then we delineate what we do now. Then we delineate this room with the couch. Wait. The couch we had that I put away for no freaking reason. Oh wait, no, I can find it under recents. Yeah. Yes. Maybe. Oh goodness. Plum blossoms on the mug, and then there's still like this huge empty area here, and I'm just not. Oh wait, there's like the shop. There was like the curtain thing for when I made the nail salon area. That no, that was ceiling. Access to those yet? That was a ceiling thing, right? Or was it just a houseware thing? Oh yeah, there it is. There we go. Hang on. Might be able to pull. See? Oh. And there's Gus losing his freaking mind again. No? Oh, it's because of the moss. It's because of the moss. There. Right? Kind of feels like a hospital, though. Yeah, no, that kind of feels like a hospital, though. So, oh well. No, I'm done. I'm walking away. I'm walking away. Walking away. I'm walking away. Let's take her downstairs, and we'll take pictures of the downstairs, because oh my gosh. Why did that give me such a fit? I don't know. Maybe I chose the wrong room dimensions. Like, this worked. Like, this is all on point. But the upstairs, I don't know. Okay. Let's get through this sequence, and then I think I have to take a break for lunch, because people are trying to get stuff done outside, but I also have to make sure the kids are fed. So I'm going to go check in with everybody, do a lap, get lunch. So that's going to be like kind of a longer break. That's going to be like an hour break or something. So we'll do like a split stream, maybe, or maybe not. This might be the end of things for today. Oh, and I skipped my bio break like forever ago. This may be it for today because I have other stuff I have to do at like 3-ish. So we'll see. It's been a weird day. It's been a very weird day, but it's okay. Hang on, we gotta do this. Private party room, looking good. Counters looking good. These are very odd angles because the room is squished. We did it. The person we made it for is hidden because of our weird wall placements. Oh, goodness. Okay. We're not gonna be too fussy about the photos or the clothes or anything. I think we're just gonna go with what we've got here. Hang on. Let's set ourselves up in the party room. Okay, and got the camera and hope she stays freaking put. There we go. Done. Oh, and she got up. I can't. Cool. So I am stuck in a chair. That's par for the course right there. Okay. Everybody. Okay. This has been giving me some weird weirdness. The controls here have been kind of weird and glitchy. No. Like nothing else is acting like this other than my camera stuff. I don't. Hello? Okay. I guess this is my life. This is my home now. Blue Bear. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to redesign this and turn it into a goth cafe. So, like. We're not here for the pink and the other stuff. Listen, it's great, but it's not for me. Okay, goodbye. I'm heading back. Goodbye. I'm getting out of here. Seriously. Seriously? Seriously. Oh. Are we gonna get, now we're getting a cutscene? Of course we are. Of course we are. Inquiry about our vacation homes. The color, soft photo. Okay, called about getting a home of their own. Those photos of yours are generating a lot of good vibes. Hello. Huzzah. Okay. Cool. Whoa, okay, that's 20 homes. We're almost to 30. Oh, okay. Yeah, of course we're getting a cutscene because 20 homes. Okay. Oh. Oh. It's my pirate cafe. Yay! Yeah, I've been doing a lot of designing lately. Do I get another race? And then, yeah, I think once we get to the 30, that's when we get to like the ending. There's still more to do after that, like there is in Animal Crossing itself. Something, what? Special event on this island. What? Oh! What? Yeah, okay. What in the heck? Increasing the number of folks. Okay, so yeah, we need to do like 10 more homes and then it'll be DJKK time. Yep, 10 more. Work on finishing the rest of the island's facilities. Okay. Few more homes are done. Okay. So I do have to do a few more homes before I can get another facility, which I think is like a doctor's office or something. Which is... Okay, sure. Oh, event venue is... Oh, yes. Okay, Nico's got that. Wardell is just like, yeah, gotcha. Was bold jumping with that juice, Nico, sir. Okay. This is great, but I gotta go now. Okay. Back when my great something grandma lived here, though? Okay. Mouth gushing, ew. Same. Okay, I'm going. I gotta go. I gotta go. Yes, I gotta go. Goodbye. I have other things I gotta do here, guys. She had 2 sips of her... I don't know what that is. It looks like a very dangerous drink. I don't know. Okay. So that was number 20. Now we know that just 10 more vacation homes and we'll get like the secret ending thing. And then we'll be able to finally get Zucker in his main house. There's the dog going berserk upstairs. So for right now, I'm gonna actually, I think, end and try and go and make lunch and stuff and see what the heck is going on and who needs me where. So I think this is all we're gonna be able to do for today. Thank you so much for hanging out. I hope that maybe we can do more like Saturday during the day streams. We'll have to see just how things are gonna go moving forward. So hopefully there will be more like this. Obviously there will not be a watch party tonight because we did stream today. So I will see you later. Thank you so much for hanging out. You too, Delta. Everybody have a really good Saturday. I'm gonna go figure out what's happening upstairs. So, and there's my kid yelling for me. So, perfect timing. All right. See you guys later.
Soak. Do not swim in the blender. Yeah. Oh.
Is that water? Is that
Mid-sentence.
water? What is this machine?
Who cares? Water pillars are cool.
Cody. Who cares? Although who cares is a great attitude. Hey Chris, what's up?
Oops.
Good to see ya. Oh, I died again. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Wait, what do I do?
You jump into the water and then it gives you this thing to like swim. You can swim up and down and then you can dash.
Oh gosh, no, make it! Oh!